Hello, and welcome to the Harvard University Department of Psychology. My name is Matt Nock, and I'm a professor and currently the chair of the Department of Psychology here at Harvard. As a professor and scientist, my job involves teaching courses to our graduate students and undergraduates, as well as running a research lab. My own lab is focused on advancing the understanding of why people behave in ways that are intentionally harmful to themselves. We're especially focused on advancing the understanding, prediction, and prevention of suicidal behavior. As department chair, my role is to help support the mission of the department and administratively support the department. So department chair is a rotating position, and faculty typically serve for a 3-year term. And the job of the chair involves things like helping to develop our department's academic plans, so figuring out what courses we're going to offer each year, searching for and recruiting new faculty, overseeing reviews and promotions of our current faculty, overseeing graduate admissions, providing financial oversight, supervising administrative staff, and just generally helping to keep the department organized and informed. And from doing all this work and being here, I've been in the department 17 years and know it well. I can tell you we have a wonderful department, and it's a really exciting place to do your graduate training. Let me tell you a little bit about our department. So like most psychology departments, our faculty and labs are organized into several different areas or clusters. We call them research training groups, or RTGs. So there are 4 of them in our department. The first one is like a cognitive area or neuroscience area in most departments. We call it our cognition, brain, and behavior area, which we refer to as the CBB area. It's made up of faculty and students organized into research labs who aim to understand basic psychological processes, such as understanding learning and memory, attention, sensation and perception, and decision-making. Our second area is our developmental psychology area, and it's made up of researchers who aim to understand the origins and development of some of these same psychological processes, as well as others, like understanding how people develop knowledge of objects, people, language, music, space, number, and morality. Our third area is our social psychology area, and this is composed of researchers who seek to understand human experiences and behaviors in social settings. So they study things like how people perceive themselves, what aspects of ourselves and our thoughts and our behaviors might operate outside of our awareness, and how people and groups interact with each other, such as trying to better understand intergroup conflict, as well as human cooperation. And our fourth and final area is our clinical science or clinical psychology area. And this group is made up of researchers who seek to understand how mental illness develops, how it's maintained over time, and how we can best treat it and prevent it. Students studying in the clinical science area also receive training in the assessment and treatment of mental illness in order to be eligible to engage in clinical practice after receiving their degree. So within each of these areas, which, as you can hear, broadly cover all aspects of psychology, we also have a deep group of people studying. So we have in each area faculty, postdoctoral fellows, people who receive their PhD and are studying for a few years before going on to a long-time job. We have graduate students, lab managers, research assistants, administrative staff, and undergraduates, all working in each of these areas. And as you can imagine, these areas, although somewhat discrete, I mentioned there are 4 of them, there are also porous boundaries across areas, with many of our faculty and students working across 2 or more areas. So people will be doing cognitive development or social, clinical, and so on. So the field of psychology is constantly evolving, and we see blending of areas and development of new areas. And overall, our department really strives to be at the forefront of this evolution. So let me tell you a little bit more about the nature of our graduate program. So our graduate program is a doctoral program, meaning that our students are admitted with the expectation that they're going to receive a PhD in psychology at the end of their training. We do not have a terminal master's program, which is a program in which it's usually a 2-year program where a student is expected to get a master's degree, and then that's the end of the program. So we don't have one of those. We have a PhD program. So all of our students will earn a master's in the process of getting their PhD, usually after their 2nd year, but our expectation is that all students will complete their PhD at Harvard. Our students typically take about 5 or 6 years to complete their PhD here, with students in the clinical area, the clinical science area, typically taking an additional year because of the clinical training those students are getting in assessment and treatment. At the end of their PhD, they do a full year of full-time clinical work. So it takes usually about a year longer to finish a PhD in clinical psychology. Excitingly, students in our program are fully funded by the university. That means that each student coming into our program receives equal funding from Harvard. So our students typically do not pay any tuition, and they receive an annual stipend while they complete their PhD, which is roughly equivalent to what you would earn as a research assistant. And that funding is provided to students during their first, second, and last year of getting the PhD. And in the middle years, students earn their stipends by engaging in research fellowships or teaching fellowships at their choosing. Let me also tell you about the mentorship model in our program. So when students apply to our program, they're asked in the application to name up to 3 faculty with whom they would like to train and receive mentorship. You should think really carefully about this and make it clear in your application and your essay how your interests map on to the work of these faculty and their labs. So we can be assured that it's a good match, that you're a good match with that faculty person, with that lab, and with our training program more generally. Importantly though, although you're applying to work with a faculty person or a handful of faculty, because our students are each funded by the university, not by individual faculty, once you're here, once you're in a program, you're free to change mentors, change labs at your wish once you're in the program. So once in graduate school at Harvard, students will spend most of their first and second year taking classes and then completing a comprehensive qualifying exam in which they must demonstrate mastery over their selected research area. And these exams are in place in most PhD programs around the country. Students receive research training during all of their years of graduate school, but the research training really intensifies at the end of year 2 and then beyond. So as you finish your classwork, you have more time to more deeply engage in research. And each student, requirement-wise, will complete a first-year research project, a second-year research project, which is effectively your master's thesis, your master's project. And then our students generally do 3 research projects or papers that comprise their dissertation, which is your final requirement for getting your PhD at Harvard. Regarding classes and research training, a really cool thing about training at Harvard is the possibility for effectively creating a unique program of study. So we have some courses that are required of all of our students, so we can make sure that you've got a basic foundational understanding of things like research methods, statistics, and so on. But then students are encouraged to take classes across all the areas of the department, as well as in other departments at Harvard. And you can even do what's called a secondary, which is generally equivalent to a minor in getting your bachelor's degree. For instance, one of our students who's currently completing her PhD in psychology is doing a secondary in computational science and engineering. And so she's taking classes in computer science and statistics and so on. So overall, this is an incredibly fun, creative, and welcoming community of people. People sometimes have the impression that Harvard is a stodgy old place that's not for them. This is absolutely not the case. Our department and this university more generally is a collection of people who are really passionate, creative, hardworking, and who really want to do work that's going to advance our understanding of psychology, of humans, and of the world, and to impact the world in really positive ways. So we hope that you'll consider joining us.